What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more ska-punk. And we're returning to the 1998 album All Fall Down by Against All Authority. I reacted to the opening title track from this a while back, maybe like 2 years ago. And none of the other tunes. So there's 15 tracks on the album. We'll go through a number of them. I might jump around a bit. Indeed, I'm skipping over the second track, and I'm going to react to the third one because it's one I enjoy a great deal. The second track's good too. But yes, this is another one that immediately came to my mind when I thought to return to this album, and the reason I thought to return to it, and this track specifically, is because we do seem to live in an era, and perhaps this has always been the case with powerful humans, but it feels especially relevant now, where people who assert their authority and try to insist that they are always right never seem to want to take accountability or acknowledge mistakes or errors or in any way admit that they may have done something that was not appropriate or not legal or otherwise problematic, and they often point fingers and engage in whataboutism and justify their motives and their actions even when it's plain for pretty much everyone to see that they did make a mistake, that they did make an error, that they have done something that was not appropriate. And yes, it just feels like this is an appropriate tune to listen to right now. And it's funny because I think the song, given the overall lyrical direction of a lot of Against All Authority tunes, which indeed are politically supercharged and are very dissonant and dissident rather, but also dissonant a little bit, it's a sort of wicked style of ska-punk. But yes, they're very dissident, they are against all authority, and certainly authority that is self-righteous and always pointing fingers at other people and never acknowledging their own role in the problems that are happening. It feels like an especially apropos tune. But yes, I feel like you can listen to it, you can read the lyrics where the narrator is getting frustrated because he's thinking about the other person or other persons who are always justifying themselves, who are always blaming others, who are always acting in ways where the motives are being questioned by the narrator. And I think you can see that in relation to heavy-handed and self-righteous politicians making big decisions and causing problems or causing suffering and pain for ordinary folk. But I do think there's a way to read the lyrics in this tune that are on a more personal level, like it's someone in particular and maybe on a more personal scale, an interpersonal relationship or a friend that has somehow betrayed you and so on, where some of the lines seem to work in that regard. The idea that, like, look, we had something, I trusted you, you're always justifying your actions, there's always a reason, you're never at fault, you're never wrong, and it always must be my fault. And so, he says he's out on the I-10, which they're from Florida, like I'm over on the complete other coast, I'm out here in California, but yeah, so the I-10, I'm assuming, is one of the interstate highways that goes through Florida, and he's saying he doesn't really know where he's going, he doesn't really have a destination, but where he does want to be is away from you. So it sounds, again, like you can read that as like, he wants to get away from the corrupt powers that be, and or he wants to get away from someone who never wants to admit that they made a mistake, who's never accountable, and who he's just done with, their motivations, their words, their actions. So it's a rip-roaring ska-punk tune, but then about halfway, maybe 2/3 into it, it suddenly gets into this, like, Jamaican ska, like dub style almost. So I enjoy the sonic shift that happens like halfway to 2/3 into this one. Let's give it a listen. This is Against All Authority. The tune is Justification, and it's from their 1998 album All Fall Down.
Choices, they are fair and all or nothing. Justify your action. Justify your action. Justify your action.
Justify your actions. So yeah, it's a great tune, and I especially again enjoy that change up that comes in the second half of the tune. It's a real like sonically luscious sort of moment. There's some different brass lines, and it just sort of goes into this Jamaican ska rhythm before then ripping back into the ska punk tempo and intensity. And yeah, I do again think there's lines like what is it, something about like you affect all of our lives. I think that's very easily readable in regard to politicians who make decisions like we're cutting the budget for this, or we're not going to support this, and a lot of people's lives are affected by those choices. And he's saying like, how do you sleep at night? Like, I'm burning up inside thinking about what you've done and the callous nature in which you've abused your authority and caused problems for everyday folk like me and those I know. But again, the idea that like, oh, you always have excuses, like who are you going to blame tonight? And I'm out here on the road, well, I don't know where I'm going, but I know where I want to be, that's away from you. I feel like that line still works in that earlier idiom or that earlier interpretive framework, but I think it can also be read more personally. So I think it's the kind of line that, depending on what's on your mind, if you've been reading the news, you'll probably read it or hear it on a larger scale. If you're going through like tough personal times with someone, or with a person who's in your family or a relationship partner and so on, then you may interpret that on a more personal, like emotional level. But yeah, I really do enjoy the sonics of this one. And it's funny, I said it's like a dissonant type of album, like wicked ska punk. I do think it is that in a lot of tracks. All Fall Down is certainly that way, but this one has a bit more of like a fun energy to it, even in the faster parts. Now, I guess the vocals are where the sort of dissonance and intensity especially comes from, and in that regard, I was thinking they remind me of Leftover Crack, a ska punk band that came a little bit later. And I've reacted to Thumper and some other bands that are famous for having this sort of intense ska punk style. But the vocals and the overall flavor of the music does remind me quite a bit of Leftover Crack. So yeah, shout out to wicked acerbic ska punk, which occasionally goes into like smooth ska rhythms. Luca, what are you doing? Like, you're just staring at me. This is ridiculous. At some point I am going to have to end the video here. Well, as I said, I will continue to go through this. This is on Hopeless Records in 1998. I think Against All Authority broke up in the like late 2000s, like maybe 2007, I think. They put out, I think, 4 albums overall, and I think the last one was maybe 2006, and they broke up shortly after that. I do think, and I remember reading this on Discogs, in fact, I think they played like a 30th anniversary show, so probably like, maybe 2015 or something. I don't know exactly when they got started. In fact, it wouldn't be the 30th anniversary, would it? So maybe they got started a lot before this album. I suppose I should look while I'm talking about this, because I suppose it would be better than just having to write information in the video description. Give me one moment. Luca is going to jump down. Okay, so their first album was 95. Oh, so I guess that's like a recent addition to this Discogs page, because their 30th anniversary would have literally been this year, 2005. It doesn't actually say concert now that I'm looking at it. It says they recently celebrated their 30th anniversary in Gainesville, Florida. They're originally from Miami. So yes, my assumption is maybe they released... Oh wait, they have a split with Common Rider? Oh, but that was back in 2005. Common Rider is one of the bands that Jesse Michaels of Operation Ivy was in. Shout out to Jesse Michaels. Yeah, dude, I gotta see if I can get my hand on that split, which is literally called Split, which is funny. But yes, apparently they did some sort of 30th anniversary in 2025, which I was not aware of, or at least, I don't have any more information on, but yeah, I'm very curious about that. In any case, as I said, we'll continue to go through All Fall Down. Shout out to Against All Authority, shout out to Hopeless Records. Let me know what you think. I will see you next time. Peace.